new court report adjustments. It's not terribly different from what we were using before, but one of the things that we found was, I mean, we've always known that this would be a simpler format, but in the past, maybe we were short on space and the court wasn't as open to seeing things in its length. And we have a listening now for us to be able to do this a little bit more lengthy. So it's not a ton different from what you did before, but we get to actually leave some of the information in the way we had it before. So the first thing that's a big change is the contacted parties. And instead of having to put a whole bunch of dates and what it is, and a whole bunch of dates and what it is, and a whole bunch of dates and what it is, and it gets kind of difficult to read, what we're doing now is we're putting what it is and which dates they were. And then the next line, what it is and the dates that they occur. So I find that it's much easier to read and check. Like if I'm like, okay, well, was there an adult at that visit that you had at the foster home? Yep, I can see it. It's real quick and easy for me to find. The template that we have for you out there, has a whole bunch of things listed. When you don't have anything for those, just delete those lines, okay? Not necessary to have something. If there's something that you didn't, that you need added, well, then we add it, okay? Right?
The texts area, it's almost overwhelming because in some cases when things are happening and we might have zillions of text, we have to put the dates of every single one.
Yes, so the text can be very overwhelming, especially if you're a daily person. Chris, I'm going to do a shout out. I saw one that you did that said daily text this date through this date. And normally I wouldn't say that that's the way we want it formatted, but yeah, that worked. And yeah, so for that month, she had beginning this date dash through this date, daily text. And she just annotated it that way. And yeah, we like things to be uniform for our court personnel because that makes their job easier and they are more reliable. They rely more on our reports if they work the way we want them to work. So, you know, we don't like things to be too different among reports, but yet each case is unique. So we don't want to steal that away as well. And your advocate manager will take a look at things and go, yeah, this passes, or this, no, we got to list them out or something like that. Does that help, Brett? Okay. Any other questions about contacted parties? Okay. All right, so the other big piece of this is probably similar to how you have done your reports in the past, but we are now labeling kind of the paragraph sections. So here under Lucy, I have a placement, I have daycare, and I have visitation. Visitation meaning with parents or siblings kind of thing. Under Heidi, we've got mental health, education, and curriculars. And you can see on education and curriculars, it's actually 2 paragraphs, that's fine. You take as much space as you need. So these italicized headings of the paragraphs make it easier to go, hey, I remembered something about therapy. Boom, there's it is. Not only is it easier for you to kind of categorize and remember things, but think about how our court personnel are going to be able to use it more easily. So they're going to be able to identify it. We used to take them out because, like, even if you used headers to kind of organize your shelf, we used to take them out because it does add to the length. But that's not as much of a big deal anymore. And our current court is very, very receptive to our court reports and, you know, speaks from our court reports, and we're making a much bigger impact with our court reports in the court right now. Okay, so if I take a peek at the template, yes?
I have a question. We generate those headings then?
Give me 1 second, Allison. I'm going to show you on the template right now. Okay, so on the template under child, first it has this thing, it says to use this template, use the bulleted content suggestions to write in paragraphs. Okay? So you're going to take out these instructions, so to speak. That's going to be deleted. And honestly, if you forget, we'll delete it for you. Don't worry, your advocate manager's not going to send the instructions to the court. And you're going to leave, like for in this example, it has placement. The placement then has these bullets underneath that are suggestions about what goes there. We're trying to help guide your thinking, help you get things kick-started so that you don't go, oh my gosh, I've got 8 weeks of things and I don't even know where to start. It's overwhelming. Okay? We don't want that feeling to be going on for you. We want you to have confidence in what you're doing because honestly, you guys rock. So take these bullets out and then start writing a paragraph. Okay? So it'll be just a regular paragraph like you've done in the past, just giving you guidance on what to do. So, Allison, we have placement, educational curriculars, or daycare, depending upon, and your template will still be in Optima for your particular case. And if I have a kid who's in daycare, I'm going to take out the education part and put daycare so that you know that that's kind of where it goes. Mental health, physical well-being, permanency, parenting, maybe we've got a teen who's parenting, legal issues, and other, okay? If you don't know where it goes, put it somewhere. Okay, we will help organize if we do feel, like I think permanency and placement often gets mixed up for folks. Your placement is what's going on at the placement. Permanency is what's your goal. What are you doing? If it makes sense someplace else, well then we'll leave it up in a different spot. It's not got marble ideas of rigidness. We'll put what makes sense, okay? What I don't want to see is the same thing in multiple places, okay? So we are trying to still say things once in an appropriate place and see what happens, okay? So it shouldn't be terribly different from the way you've done it in the past. We're just kind of putting labels on it. Does that help, Allison, with your question?
Yes, but still, we don't generate different headings then, just use
No.
the ones you have there.
Use the headings that we have, or stick another, and your advocate manager will help put things together correctly. Jenny?
I've always had a confusion about repetitive information. We've got multiple kids in multiple foster homes, but are experiencing similar behaviors.
Okay.
So can you group the children's names together and say these are their behaviors and then do a separate heading of what's individual to that child? Or how do you handle that?
Okay, so multiple kids, multiple things going on. Do we repeat the same thing for each child, or can we put it together in a group thing? Honestly, I'm going to say it depends. I have found that I have done reports where right under findings, I put what's going on for everybody, and then done each child. Or sometimes, like the reaction for the same thing that's happened is different for each child. So I end up putting that event under each child and then their individual reactions to what has occurred. So it does depend on the content itself, but there is a possibility for the same thing that you're going to just copy and paste for each kid. We can stick it up at the top. Occasionally, we can put it at the bottom. So again, enough flexibility that it's not required. Chris?
I was just going to say, I really applaud this new form. I tend to be extremely verbose, and it comes with the territory, and it just helped me so much
Okay.
to have that structure.
Okay, so it really helped Chris. And I will say, we have made changes to this court report. In my 5 years, it is dramatically different for those. And Chris is one of our more veteran CASAs, and thank you for being flexible to join in our new reporting format. It used to be very, very different back when Chris was originally taught. So, other experiences or questions that you have had with the court report? Some of you have. We need to get the. We'll get the temperature warmed up here in a little bit. I see you all. Carolyn, what's your thoughts?
I like the fact that you changed it to days in child welfare.
Okay. Days instead of months in child welfare. That was actually a suggestion from our state's attorney, who was seeing things from the caseworkers in days, and we chose to mimic what they're doing. Other comments? Debbie?
I just have one question. In the past, we've been able to, or I don't know if it was suggested by the judge, but we added photographs. What's going on with that?
Photographs, drawings, things like that. Previously, they were banned. Now they're back in.
So we can add a photograph.
You can. You can talk with your advocate manager about an appropriate photograph. It brings much life to the children. We've had some drawings come in lately that have been phenomenal and just so sweet. If you don't know about in-cameras, the child can speak with the judge one-on-one. It's the judge, the GAL, and the child. Nobody else is allowed to be there for an in-camera. Bringing these children to life in the courtroom, in a courtroom that is built to meet the parents' needs. So, it's my little push, my little thought. Vicki was next.
I have a question on the new form. So like say placement, if it doesn't change from one report to the next, do we just skip that together, or should we repeat things?
So if it's the same as the one before, placement, I'm gonna say probably always should be there. But there are definitely, mental health, if they're still in therapy. If it, you know what, I would err on the side of including it and then choosing to delete it with your advocate manager. I have always been a very strong proponent with put it in and we'll help you take it out. I cannot help you put it in if you don't. I can a little bit based on your contact logs, but sometimes those aren't as robust as in your head, right? Jenny?
What are the ages for kids to participate in camera?
The ages for the in-camera, depends on who you ask what your GAL says. I had a 6-year-old that we were thinking about and they chose not to talk with the child. Honestly, when you talk with me about resilience, one of the things that we talk about is having contribution and being able to say things about their own situation and whether or not they're really able to state what it is that they want and that it be a true, accurate thing. I just think that it gives that sense of agency to a child to be able to be part of something that they are never part of. I absolutely think our elders need to be in court during their court cases as much as possible, etc. So I know that they'll probably say 11-ish is inappropriate, maybe 9. But I do think that every child who wants to have a voice at court ought to be able to.
Then who sets that up?
You set it up, usually it is started by either putting it in your report or the caseworker that the child would like to have it in camera. And it's in camera and it means in chambers in Latin. So there's no camera involved. I was very confused when I first started. So that's kind of often where it starts. It often is conversations that are going on before you even get there.
Yeah, so I was looking at this and it says CASA observed significant improvement in the quantity and quality of Corey's speech, and his speech is easier, but there are no examples of quotes. We are still not doing that.
If quotes are important to the situation, then you put them in. You know, in class, we use the word crack baby, and that ought to be in quotes if you're gonna include that kind of thing in your court report. You know, there are significant things. Do I need sentences? No, because they're probably not right. They're probably not right. Okay, yes?
Thank you. What, in terms of the CASA child versus other family members that are not related, is there any, even though they're maybe playing together at the same time? So is that included, not with a name or?
Yes, so if there are relatives or friends or whatever that you want to comment on in your report, because that's important, it shows a lot of connection, it shows the way that they can socially interact. So a lot of that stuff can be important. Do we need to list every single person up in our contacted parties? No. You know, I don't have to do friend,
Well, we
cousin.
wouldn't use the name.
Yeah, we still would not use the name, only the names of the children in the case go into the court report. Otherwise, we're gonna come up with a moniker for everybody else, okay?
If there's the foster parents, other child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like another foster sibling,
So we're not.
right?
Again, with the text, for the contact log, so I have a situation where I have 2 3-year-old toddlers, and so almost all my communication is with foster mom. And it's like daily, and sometimes multiple times through texts, which is great, but, I mean, the contact log, you would be entering it every single day. The text, is that the expectation?
Yeah, so personally, I would prefer to have all those texts in the contact log. When you have that written communication, one text for the day with all of them suffices. It doesn't have to be a contact log for each text. You know, sometimes, depending upon what's going on, summarizing what the text exchange was is appropriate. But definitely pasting in any of those verbal things that you want to be able to possibly quote or refer to. You want some of that exact exchange of information. So. All right. I think that we probably can use our advocate managers for the rest of any questions. I want to respect our time and do the other things that are on our agenda. Is that okay with all?